What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video, reacting to Why Are Internet Guitarists So Hated by Bradley Hall. So what's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be reacting to Why Are Internet Guitarists So Hated by Bradley Hall. So please go and give Bradley Hall a sub. Fantastic guitar YouTuber, musician YouTuber, not only a great player and a great shredder, but also hilarious content. Just fantastic guitar-based humor, just great stuff. Also, go and give the original video a like. I've included the link to the original video in the description. Please go and give it a like. And also, please leave a comment on a video that you'd like to see me react to next in the comment below on this video. So, all right, here we go.
In the music world, I define a content creator as someone who regularly creates and uploads video content based on their instrument, either solely for entertainment purposes or also as a vehicle to promote their own music. The types of videos creators make varies massively, from covers to memes to lessons and everything in between, with notable YouTubers in my niche of metal guitar content being Stevie T, Jared Dines and Nick Nocturnal, to name but a few. Despite the immense popularity of guitar content on the internet, when you venture outside of our cozy little YouTube bubble into a broader audience, it becomes quite clear that there's an overall feeling of strong dislike towards musicians who create content on the internet, especially from the more old guard and traditional members of the community. Now, every so often, when a video of mine does particularly well, it gets picked up by guitar and metal news publications and shared on their social media. The comments on these posts are always absolute gold, usually nearly entirely negative and full of vitriol and cynicism.
Whoa, a blue-eyed Badass guitarist YouTuber covering a song or solo with his own creative twist because he thinks it sounds better when really all he's doing is sweeping 1,000 times because it feeds his ego. I've never seen something like this before. Bradley has potential to be a great musician. I understand having a YouTube channel dedicated to his parodies is more lucrative. It might be more fun for him, but it's a waste of talent. Another random guy in his bedroom fantasizing he's in Metallica. Can't decide if this is everything wrong with guitar or everything wrong with the internet. Okay, now you...
All right. All right, so this kind of stuff is very, very real. And Bradley kind of nailed it right on the head when he said, you know, it's usually, internet guitarists are usually more frowned upon by the more old school sort of traditional musicians. Absolutely 110% correct. But here's the thing about musicians in general. You would think since we're musicians, you know, it'd be all, you know, flower power and peace and love your fellow man and all that. No. Sadly, musicians are very narcissistic and egotistical sometimes. And as well as the fact that, you know, people tend to get set in their ways. So like you said, the more traditional musicians, that's all that they know. That's all that they, you know, they grew up with. There was no internet. There was no option for doing this. So when they tend to see somebody just doing content creating, oh, well, it's such a waste of time, you know. Hey, these kids on the internet, they should go out and play in a bar or a club like a real band. Huh? You kids get off my lawn. Yeah, unfortunately. And it's not even just the old timers. Musicians that are the same age will end up arguing back and forth about everything, you know, like these battles that have been going on forever, you know, covers versus originals and so on and so forth. But yep, unfortunately, it is a very real thing.
YouTubers gonna tell bands how to make music? Better go make their own bands. Maybe years of playing in their rooms will secure them success.
What's with this weirdly passionate hate towards internet guitarists? From what I gather, these people seem to associate online guitarists with a particular kind of flashy, overly perfect playing, as well as obnoxiously clickbait thumbnails and an overabundance of dramatic hand gestures. To be honest, I can totally sympathize with these points, as I was of a similar mindset before I
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge there, hey, Bradley?
really immersed myself in the world of YouTube many years ago. What I don't understand, though, is just the unrelenting ignorance towards this form of entertainment,
That's ignorant.
and the insistence that these musicians are somehow inferior to musicians who tread the traditional path. This is what I absolutely hate about rock music, that it's just so steeped in tradition and is incredibly reluctant to any kind of evolution or progress. It just reminds me of those kind of guys you have in every workplace who always shoot down talented interns and juniors under the bullshit pretense of having more experience and obviously knowing better. I also
Well, that is unfortunate. It unfortunately does happen. And again, it was like I was saying earlier, that's all that there was back then. For the older musicians that are the more traditional type, there was no internet. There was no such thing as online content creation. So there really was no other option. They didn't have an option. So they got themselves rooted into that. And that's what they did, so that when something like this comes along, it's just foreign to them. But the same can be said for any other industry or any other thing that, the older generation doesn't exactly appreciate the new way things are being done. That happens not only in music, but with everything.
also think that the hate extends to a general dislike that many people hold towards social media influencers. Influencers can often present themselves as annoyingly perfect and only ever show you what they want to show you, inadvertently making
That's
you feel
sometimes
bad
true.
about the imperfections in your own life, or in your own playing in this case. There may also be some element of envy in there too, but I don't really feel comfortable committing to that as an argument, as it sounds a bit too presumptuous. One of the most frequent comments I see is about how I should be in a band, or how I'd never make it in a band, or how my talent's being wasted by not being in a band, or some variation thereof. I personally find these sort of remarks super interesting, as they speak volumes about the mindset of the average music fan, especially in rock and metal music. The general consensus amongst the masses seems to be that being in a professional touring band is the pinnacle of what you can achieve as a musician, and that so-called bedroom musicians are just aspiring wannabes that don't have what it takes. Yes?
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all, because there's many different reasons that somebody would rather be an online content creator than a touring road musician or even a musician playing bars and clubs. Think about things like this. What about people that live in rural areas that have very small towns? You're a guitar player, there might not be a bass player and a drummer and a vocalist in your town, period. Yet alone one that wants to do the same type of music as you. And what about people that have social anxiety, that don't want to go out to crowded clubs or bars and all that, but want to play music? Perfectly capable and comfortable of sitting in front of a camera or, recording and putting their music out there. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And again, we have options now. Options are good.
Being in a professional touring band was definitely the pinnacle of achievement as a musician like 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. It may
That's all it
surprise
was.
you to hear that times have indeed changed, and it's not so black and
More than a
white
bit.
anymore. So, about touring, aka spending 95% of your time in a bus, van or hotel room, completely bored out of your mind, probably hungover, and almost definitely with immense diarrhea from all the crappy food you've been surviving on.
Oh, Bradley, you bring me back to my road days, man. You bring me back to my road days. He's not wrong about that, yeah. And, for those that can tour at a high level and have, a nice budget and, good food provided for them and all that sort of stuff, great accommodations, a proper bus and, good travel. No. I'm a complete freaking unknown, so I did it the way that most of you that are watching and listening probably did it as well too if you're on the road, as a starving artist musician in a van with a bunch of stinky, sweaty guys Not even eating at drive-thrus. We couldn't afford drive-thrus. We had to eat at the gas station. We only had enough money for gas station food. And yes, sometimes it did make the diarrhea and things a little bit bad, which is really tough when you're out on the road. You're not always near a rest stop or any place with a porta potty or something like that. Oh, Bradley.
Hoping beyond hope that you'll sell enough merch to break even. But it's all worth it for those precious 30 minutes a night where you feel alive and free and you're finally fulfilling your life's purpose of sharing your music with the world, right? Right? I mean, as well as being a surefire way to completely hemorrhage thousands of dollars, to be touring in an established band is still seen by many as the highest achievement a musician could possibly reach. But why is that? I think it's mainly just thoughts left over from the music industry's heyday of the 70s to 90s, where touring was incredibly lucrative financially, and there was an air of mystique and fantasy about the lifestyles of touring rock stars.
When I was a kid, rockers were like untouchable gods up in the heavens, like Robert Plant.
I mean, sure, touring can still be very lucrative if you're playing at a super high level where you're actually getting a decent slice of the pie, but...
Yes, that's exactly it. Now, a lot of the big touring bands, not, the like Taylor Swift level, no. A lot of the big touring acts are sitting there going, we're having a hard time going on the road because everything's more expensive. Backline is more expensive. Lights are more expensive. Tour buses are more expensive. Gas is more expensive. Everything is more expensive. But if you're one of the few acts that is fortunate enough that you actually can make money touring and out on the road, and a lot of it, well then yes, go for it. But for a lot of acts, it just doesn't make financial sense. A lot of acts, and especially unknown acts starting off, you're spending money. You're losing money. You're spending money to go out on the road. You're not going to be making money as a brand new unknown artist out on the road. You're going to be at best driving around in a van with a bunch of stinky, sweaty guys and gals, all depends, and eating at gas stations and begging to have a floor to sleep on at somebody's house or the crappy band houses that you're going to get on the road. It's not as glamorous as you may think on the low level. Not whatsoever.
This absolutely isn't the case for the vast majority of touring musicians. For the average musician, embarking on a tour in this post-COVID world is absolute financial suicide, and not something that should be undertaken lightly. A friend of mine's band who was signed to a major metal music label are starting a 3-week European tour early next year, and they very kindly shared with me a rough breakdown of all of the costs involved. Tour bus, $25k, tour manager, $2k, sound engineer, $5k, merch printing, $3k, plus tax and band member wages on top of that. And if you want to tour across the pond, then add on visas and flights too. And that's just for a mid-level band with major label backing.
I think he said that was only for like 3 weeks. I didn't exactly add it up. I think he said like $25k for the bus, 2k for the tour manager. We're at $2,700. That's just right there. And that's $2,700 just for those two things. And that's for a 3-week tour. There's no way they're going to pull it. Like you said, it's a mid-level. They got a record deal, but they're a virtual unknown. They're a mid-level, small, tiny band. There's no way they're making any money. They are losing money big time on that venture. Big time. There's no way they're going to make any money unless they somehow get picked up or stumble on to doing some large festival dates. And for whatever reason, for a lower unknown band, festival dates decide to pay them more money. Yeah, there's no way they're really making any decent money on that at all.
Insane, right? What's also kind of amusing is that because of the huge backlog of bands touring post-lockdown, there's actually a severe shortage of tour buses right now, which is causing bands to cancel and lose massive amounts of money, or to seek alternative, more expensive means of travel. Don't get me wrong, playing live is super fun, and absolutely something that every musician should experience. But honestly, unless you...
And I love it and did it for 30 plus years. It was just time for a change for this guy.
can comfortably afford it, the list of reasons to heavily tour these days grows incredibly slim. So why are musicians now choosing to take the online approach instead of the traditional approach? Over the years, it seemed to me that there's become an ever-increasing divide between traditional musicians and modern musicians. Traditional musicians are the more artiste types, who are pretty much just only interested in writing music and playing live, and have either no interest or just a passing interest in social media, marketing, and the more business side of the industry. Modern musicians tend to be more internet savvy, and often forego playing live as frequently in favor of spending more time growing their audience online instead. But
now this is very, very, very interesting point. Yes, absolutely. Now, because the traditional musician, again, to use the terms back in the day when, there was no online, you would get a record deal. You would go out on tour. You would only have to worry about making sure you were on the bus or the plane or the train to get from town to town to get to the gig, and you're on stage and you had to play. That was all that you had to worry about. You had a recording engineer that would record the album for you, and a producer. You have a videographer that would shoot your videos for you. You got a manager that takes care of everything. You have a graphic designer that takes care of all the graphic design for the album artwork and all that sort of stuff. You have a tour manager so that when you're on tour, you get an itinerary, even if you're too stupid or too drunk to figure out and read the itinerary and know where you have to be at any given time. The tour manager would come and grab you. That's all that you had to do was play and be a musician. Now, as the modern musician, that is all completely changed. Now, the modern musician does literally everything. You can't just get by being just a musician. No, you also have to be a recording engineer, a producer, a videographer, a graphic designer, a booking agent. You have to do all these things yourself. The script has been completely flipped.
which of these is the best approach? So from my own experience, a lot of musicians aren't really motivated, driven people when it comes to anything other than creating and playing music. So the old school approach that traditional musicians take of trying to get signed to a label and tour suits these guys perfectly. You can just focus exclusively on the music while your label takes care of most of the other stuff you have no interest in. But of course the flip side to this is that you usually have to sign away the publishing rights to your music, and you'll be sharing revenue with a bunch of other stakeholders outside of the band. Musicians don't tend to be the most financially driven people on the planet though, to say the least, so this isn't usually seen as a big issue, though I think...
Yeah, but this is an interesting point, because back in the day, I have to keep on saying back in the day, because it's, why our internet guitars so hated, the whole battle between the traditional musicians and the more modern musicians and content creators. Back in the day, yes, you'd sign that record deal, you'd sign your publishing away, but there was a lot more money in music. People used to actually buy music back then. I don't think I ever remember a full-length album, whatever you want to call an album, CD, or cassette, being less than $10 and more than $25. Between that $10 and $25 mark. So there was a lot more money in it. So yes, you're signing away a lot of your publishing to the record company, and you'd only get a very small percentage, but there was more money to go around with that. As we're today, with streaming, on average, for stream, about a quarter of a penny per stream goes to the musician. Now, I know this because I'm a solo artist, an independent musician with music out there. I'm in the best possible bracket for a musician to get paid from the current music system there is. I have no record deal. I have no other musicians to pay. I'm a solo artist. I wrote, produced, released all my music independently. Every stream, a quarter of a penny, which means somebody has to stream a song 4 times or listen to 4 songs to get a quarter of a penny. Yay! I've got all that. Every bit of the quarter of a penny is mine. So a little bit of a difference when it comes to that. It wasn't as big of a deal signing your publishing back in the day because people were paying for music. But now, if you're to do that now, that maybe should be a whole different video, don't recommend getting a record deal these days because it's a 360 deal, and that quarter of a penny goes to the record company first. They take whatever they're going to take out of that, and then whatever's left goes to the songwriter and or the artist. So there's a lot of different factors to get into here. But anyways, almost getting a little off topic. Back to the video.
Most musicians don't realize just how much money you're missing out on by not keeping the rights to your own music. It's actually insane. So I might be starting to sound a bit judgmental here, but I do think this path that traditional musicians take is a lot more self-centered. Like, they just want to be left alone to create their art and have their little rock star moments on stage, lapping up all the praise and adoration like a thoroughly parched puppy. The rise of online platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok have allowed musicians to create a huge, dedicated audience from their bedroom and allow their music to have a far greater reach and to earn a lot more money compared to if they had taken the traditional route instead.
Now, yeah, I've got to agree with this. Now, again, like, there's something to being able to just create your music, play music, go live from your own home studio. Yes, having a studio in your home, just, there's no fuss, there's no muss. You don't have to go and load all the gear into the van. You don't have to be on the phone with club owners to book the gig. You don't have to, lug all the gear into the bar, do setup, do sound check, do the gig, tear all the gear down, load it back into your van. I did it for 30 plus years. I loved it, but it was just time for a change for me. It was absolutely a welcome change for me to just be doing live streaming and creating YouTube videos. It's just so convenient, as well as the fact, well, just like Bradley said, the reach that you have. Okay, I was your average touring / bar restaurant musician. The people that I was playing for were the people that I could see in front of me only at whatever venue I was playing at. Now, when I'm doing a live stream these days, even if I only have 12 or 15 people watching me, I usually got 2 people from Canada, a couple people from the States, 1 or 2 from Mexico, 3 people in Italy, 4 people in Australia, 8 people in Germany. I only have a few people at any given moment, but my reach is spread out through several different continents. You can't get that anywhere else. You're only able to play in front of the people that you're in front of when you're a club or a touring musician. I love the fact that when I'm live streaming, I can sit there and say, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Australia. Hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Italy. I just love that because I'm sitting here in my home studio, but yet I'm performing for people in Italy, in Germany, in Australia, in Canada, in the States. That, I think, is just absolutely fantastic. My performance and my music gets to go to places that I myself may never end up going to.
But for some reason, a lot of musicians seem to think of social media as a dirty term and view it as a chore that they know is necessary but can't really be bothered to put any real effort into. In this modern age of the music industry, the artists who properly invest time into growing their online presence and learning how to leverage their audience to further their careers are the ones who are really winning. Now, I know that approaching music from a more businessy, entrepreneurial angle isn't appealing to everyone, and like I said earlier, I know that some people just want to be left alone to make music and that's it. But these skills are absolutely essential to succeed as an independent artist these days. It's honestly kind of baffling to me that these traditionalists are allergic to creating some fun content for their fans on their socials every few days that have the potential to reach thousands and thousands of people, but are completely okay with dragging themselves through hell and back to tour for a few weeks and play.
Now, I can actually see this though. Now, I understand this. Now, this way, I'm going to go and really lean more towards the point of view of the traditionalist musician. I understand why a lot of musicians will go through hell and back to potentially play for even a small handful of people. It's because musicians want that instant connection of being able to see the audience in front of them, be able to see them tapping their toes, singing along, moshing, depending on what kind of music it is, They want to have that instant gratification. They want to have that right there. I get it. Over 3 decades, I did it. I did it as much as I could. I loved it. It was just time for a bit of a change for this here old timer. But I do get the want and the desire for playing live. And I think and just because I'm leaning more towards being an online content creator and live streamer is not that I'm discouraging anybody from playing live at all, especially the younger generation of musicians. No, you should absolutely get out there and play live. It's just, well, I'm old. I'm really old and I've done it for a long time. I like just being able to walk into my studio. You kids get off my lawn!
To 100 people a night, each to their own, I guess. And when you really think about it, the exposure that you get from touring, even at a big level, isn't really anywhere close to what you can get from the internet. Think about it, the average theatre venue capacity is probably around what, like 5,000? So over the course of a whole 1 month tour, you'd be playing to probably, I don't know, over 100,000 people. Compare that to the average monthly views of a medium to big size YouTube channel, and
Yeah. You have to have that large of a following, though. If you don't have that large of a following, I guess it all goes by that, right? You know, you're only going to do that well once you can build your numbers up. It's just like anything else. But yeah, the numbers don't lie.
it doesn't even come remotely close. Of course, these things aren't really directly comparable as they're two different types of experiences, but I'm sure you see what I'm getting at, right? My point is that in the same way having a physical brick-and-mortar store isn't really an efficient way to make money, as you're limited by the amount of stock you can hold at any one time, playing physical shows isn't really an efficient way of doing business either, if you break things down to the raw numbers. But there's also no reason why these two
Yes. Why not do both? You see, I've had this, philosophy of why not do both about many different things. Like Les Paul or Stratocaster, originals or covers. Les Paul or Stratocaster. Both. Depends on what you're doing. Covers or originals. Why not do both? So yes, when it comes to this, like for example, one of my favorite YouTubers and live loopers, Davodas. That's exactly what he does. He records every one of his live shows, and then he takes those videos of the recordings, takes a song or two here or there, snip, 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 uploads it onto YouTube. And when you are doing both, you can use both to help promote each other. It's just one hand washing the next. Go out, do live gigs, record your gigs, take those, upload them on YouTube. Having a good Facebook or Instagram presence or Twitter or X or whatever is gonna help the band. It's a way that you can advertise the live shows and give more content back to people that are coming out to your live shows. Why not do both is the best option. That's personally what I would recommend more than anything. It's just, I'm done with the live shows myself for now.
approaches have to be mutually exclusive. Take Herman Lee and Justin Hawkins as examples. Both have leveraged YouTube to create very successful channels, while also managing to continue recording and touring. I've spoken to both Herman and Justin personally about this, and they both unanimously agreed that their channels have really turbocharged their band's popularities. Also, think about kids growing up in the 70s, 80s or 90s with social anxiety who didn't want to play live, or kids that lived in remote areas with no other people to form a band with. Just think about how many amazing talents the world missed out on. But in this modern era, these guys and girls are no longer excluded and now have a platform.
I swear I didn't watch this video before that, because I could have sworn I said something like that earlier on in this video and watching this. Yes, rural areas and social anxiety. Yeah, especially the rural areas thing. And another thing to consider too about this is look at the way the housing market is in most areas. And this is something that I talked to actually my guitar tech and good friend about a little while ago when we were talking about other things, basically saying it's harder for bands to happen because you think about it, when we were kids, we almost all of us lived in houses. Very few people lived in apartments. Some people did. But if you got a 4 or 5 piece band, chances are there's at least 1 or 2 of the people in the band that lives in a house with a garage or a basement that would allow the band to practice at. Band has to have a place to practice and write and record and jam and do all those things. Now, you fast forward to now, where the housing market is freaking crazy, hardly anybody can afford houses. Where are bands going to start jamming at? Hence, a lot more internet guitarists. You can't jam with anybody because there's no place to go and do it. You can't jam in an apartment. No, just go home, plug into your interface, record some music, make a video. It just makes sense.
To share their music and content. For me, personally, YouTube has completely changed my life. It finally gave me the creative outlet that I was always looking for, and just given me opportunities and allowed me to meet people that I would have only fantasized about when I was younger. And the best thing by far about the modern approach is that you get to interact with your audience in real time whenever you want to, and develop a real connection with them. Nurturing your audience and providing them constant value is so important, not just dropping an album every 2 years and then dropping off the face of the earth like most traditional bands do. Some of the best experiences of my YouTube career so far have been making content in collaboration with my viewers, chatting shit with them in Discord, and sharing big releases with them at premieres. I know this video got a little bit ranty and negative, and I do apologise, but unfortunately one's required to be somewhat provocative these days in order to hammer home one's points. And putting all of my personal opinions aside, at the end of the day there's no right or wrong way to pursue your dreams. Just do whatever brings you the most enjoyment and most fulfillment. And I know it may have sounded like it, but I'm also absolutely not anti-live music or anti-touring, by the way. Playing live is amazing and absolutely the single most fun thing you can do as a musician, and I encourage all bedroom musicians to get out there and give it a try at least once.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had a feeling, because I think I remember Bradley talking about other bands that he's been in before and all that sort of stuff. Before I watched this video, I was already pretty certain that he had played in bands before because of other things that he said. But yes, absolutely. Playing live is absolutely a blast, and it's fantastic. Like I even said earlier, I encourage especially young musicians to go out and do it. But, you know, there'll come a point where you may decide that you just want to go the way of the online creator, much like myself and much like Bradley. But that's the wonderful thing. In this day and age, we have options.
I'm just trying to open some minds and make you realize that the music industry is a completely different beast to what it was when you were younger. And in regards to all the haters, I'm more than happy to continue taking shit because I love the online guitar community and it's more than worth it. Plus, it just gives me free extra content such as this video, so keep the vitriol rolling, brother! Anyway, this script took me fucking ages to write, so you'd better at least leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done already. Cheers, mate!
Alrighty, so there you have it. That was reacting to Why Are Internet Guitarists So Hated by Bradley Hall. So if you haven't already, make sure you go to Bradley Hall's channel, give him a sub. Again, great YouTube guitarist, content creator. Also, go to the original video for Bradley and make sure you give it a like. I included the link in the description for the original video. And also, please leave a comment on this video, my video, of what you'd like to see me react to next. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like, comment, and share. It doesn't cost a thing and would really help out the channel. Also, please subscribe to my other channel, GK Mac Music, for some live looping live streams with a side of jackassery, some original music, and some short content, also with a side of jackassery. If you'd like to help out the channel financially, you can buy some merch at the merch store, or you can become a channel member. As always, everyone, thanks so much for your continued support. Do what makes you happy.